Good evening, Tony. Hi, this is a question I asked Dr. Ben a few years ago, and I'd like to hear your opinion of it. In 1977, in one of Dr. Ben's discussions, he discussed the state of the race at the time. Yeah? Now, I asked him this question about 5 years ago, and I'd like to know your opinion. I'd like to hear your opinion on the state of the race at the moment and the cause and effect of what's happening, in particular, in the UK, the state of our youths, and our relationship with each other. There seems to be a general breakdown of our family life. So basically, I'd like to hear your opinion and what you think the cause and effect is.
Sure. I've had several discussions with people over the last couple of days about this subject matter. When I first came to the UK in the early 90s, one of the things that I noticed as I moved throughout the country talking to people and giving presentations was that the UK was about 15 years behind in terms that you all were just beginning to have problems that we've had for about a generation before. And so with that knowledge, I knew that if we could solve some of the problems and share that knowledge with you, it means that you could solve problems before they become major problems. But essentially what has happened is that that hasn't happened. And so the poison that was manufactured in America, primarily through BET, which I refer to as black enslavement television, the music videos, which espouse pornography, violence, misogyny. Those videos, that poison is being exported all over the world. And wherever children are exposed to this pornography, they then accept this as a normal way of life. And you see a corresponding increase in violence, a corresponding increase in crime, in pregnancy, and you literally witness the breakdown of communities wherever this poison is allowed to flow in. So my suggestion to you all, which is the same suggestion that I've been sharing with brothers and sisters back in the States for years, is to kill your television. Monitor what your children bring in the household. Don't allow them to listen to any profanity. Don't allow them to watch any pornography in your house. If parents, men and women, mothers and fathers, were parents, it would eliminate a great deal of these problems. But because of the fact we believe it's just a movie, it's just a record, what we have set up is the destruction of generations of our children. This is intentional. And I want us to understand one important fact with regards to this pornography, because it's not music, it's not entertainment, it's pornography. That the reason why there are parental labels on CDs is because Al Gore's wife, when he was a senator, had bought a copy of Prince's CD, Purple Rain. Well, she was shopping with her daughter. Her daughter bought a copy of Prince's CD, Purple Rain. So this was 1984. And daughter brought the CD home, and she was playing it, and her mother heard the song, Darling Nikki, and the lyrics of which go, I knew a girl named Nikki, they say she was a sex fiend. I saw her in a hotel lobby debating with a magazine. And she heard those lyrics, and she was upset. She took the CD back to the store and demanded her money back. But the teller said, well, I'm sorry, but you opened it and I can't give you a refund. So she said, had I known that these lyrics were in this CD, I never would have bought it. So she met with other congressional wives, and they put pressure on their husbands to demand that the recording industry put those labels on those CDs so that conscientious parents could then censor what their children brought into their households. So what that showed me was that when parents do their job, you minimize certain behavior, destructive behavior in your household. We've got to do a better job. That's the beginning of the issue. We've got to do a better job. And when we do, and I'm telling you this, brother, from my own personal experiences, when your children see you stand up in defense of them, they will respect you because of that. They will listen to you. But because of the fact we have not done what we've had the ability to do, our children aggress against us. So the problem begins right here in our own households. And if we take responsibility, we'll see changes in our community.
I'm also feeling from what you're saying then it's also really important for us to understand that it wasn't us that were enslaving ourselves. So it's not purely our history. And that when we think about our history, we need to not just stop at slavery, but we need to be able to go beyond that when we think about African history. We think about our history rather than our history is only associated with slavery. That is not purely our history. That is a world history. It was not only us taking part in that. Well, we were not willingly taking part in it.
But, sorry, Brother, just before you come in, but that's deliberate, and I don't know if you saw what was in The Guardian last week, the timeline. Did Brother Paul show you?
No, he told me about it, but I was going to comment on his timeline.
Yeah, but what happened was, last Friday, I was doing a session in Peckham Academy to about 400 and something school children. And I was speaking to Brother Paul. Paul Abinna, do you know about Brother Paul Abinna's designed the timeline? If you don't, you need to Google Hogarth Blake and get the timeline and sit down with that. But anyway, the point I'm making is, in The Guardian last week, who saw the timeline that was in there? Yeah, but they had this timeline. Did you notice it said from Alabama to Obama? Oh yeah. It started something like 43 AD with Septimus Severus or something like that, and then it had these big jumps. Anyway, cut a very long story short, we did the session, myself and Tracy was up there, we did the session on Friday, and what we did was we got the school teachers on stage to hold the Guardian timeline, because Brother Paul bought the newspapers and sellotaped it together. And it was about, I don't know, maybe from that curtain to here, that curtain there to here. So, you know, I was saying to people, yeah, what do you think of this? And they were quite impressed. And then we popped out Brother Paul Abinna's timeline, which is, I kid you not, from there to there. It's too long to fit on this stage, Brother Paul's timeline. But what I showed them was, and this is exactly, you know, endorsing what the sister just said, what they teach us in the context of, let's say the timeline is 100 feet long. What they teach us is, from chattel enslavement, we came into some kind of being, and that was it. But that only takes up about 15 feet of a 100-foot timeline. And this just goes to the beginning of documented history in Africa. So that's what you need to appreciate when, because if we're going to try and unravel some of this madness that afflicts all of us, and that which we are in some ways perpetrating and perpetuating amongst ourselves and on our children, we need to start standing up and saying, you know something, you go to school to get this, that's fine. So you can give them The Guardian, but give them something else to unpack that. Give them a balance. Because if you don't have a sense of self that predates chattel slavery, as I always say to people, why would you want to associate yourself with a land of savagery and barbarism, which is exactly what Brother Tony was saying? Why would you want to associate yourself with that? So as long as those are the images you get of yourself, because whether you like it or not, you're of African ancestry, most of you in here.
Everyone.
Why would you, yeah, that's true, everybody. Why would you want to associate yourself with that? Of course you wouldn't. But the only way you're going to divest of that is to do some research. And you know, well, obviously, I'm sitting here as a product of literature and reading. And I remember when I first bought the Browder file, which is the book I generally offer to people when they say they want to get into African history, I say to them, Brother Anthony Browder's The Browder File and Brother Andrew Mohammed, Free Your Mind. Get those two books and go through them with your children, because it gives you two really good, accessible perspectives. But the most important thing is, they're not about just getting out the big black flag and saying Africans did everything. It's about putting it in a context. If you put yourself in a story, you create a better picture. Over there.